Steve Harvey wasn't having it when a Family Feud contestant made a joke about his skin color. In that shocking moment, the laughter that filled the studio turned to an uncomfortable silence as everyone held their breath, waiting to see how Steve would respond. This was more than just a slip of the tongue. It was a pivotal clash between humor and respect, a moment that would challenge the very fabric of racial sensitivity in entertainment. What happened next would not only redefine the boundaries of comedy, but also spark a powerful conversation about race that resonated far beyond the stage. The stage was set for another thrilling episode of Family Feud, a beloved game show where families compete in hilarious and heartwarming challenges. Bright lights illuminated the studio, casting a warm glow over the excited audience, who buzzed with anticipation, eager to witness the competition unfold. Laughter and chatter filled the air as fans cheered for their favorite families. Among the contestants was a lively individual, full of spirit and ready to make their mark. This contestant had prepared for weeks, practicing answers and strategizing with their family. They had come not just to win, but to create memorable moments on national television. As the game progressed, the atmosphere was electric. The host, Steve Harvey, known for his quick wit and charm, engaged with the contestants, cracking jokes and drawing laughter from the crowd. Every correct answer was met with cheers, and every blunder resulted in playful banter. The camaraderie among the contestants and Steve made for an entertaining show, showcasing the joy of family competition. However, as the game neared its climax, the mood shifted unexpectedly. In a moment of misguided humor, the contestant made a joke about Steve Harvey's skin color, a comment intended to be lighthearted. Initially, the audience erupted into laughter, caught off guard by the unexpected quip. However, the laughter quickly faded into an uneasy silence, replaced by a palpable tension in the air. The weight of the words hung heavily, and all eyes turned to Steve, wondering how he would respond. Would he brush it off with a laugh, or would he confront the insensitivity head-on? Steve's expression shifted from jovial to serious in an instant. His trademark smile faded as he processed the comment, and a furrow appeared on his brow. He wasn't just a host, but a voice for respect and dignity in a world that often overlooked the impact of words. The audience held its breath, anticipating his reaction. Would he allow the joke to pass, or would he seize this moment to address a deeper issue? Finally, Steve spoke up. "We don't do that here," he declared, his voice steady and commanding. The authority in his tone echoed throughout the studio, a clear message that humor should never come at the expense of others. The audience erupted into applause, their support evident as they recognized that this wasn't just about a misguided joke. It was about standing up against racial insensitivity and promoting a culture of respect. In that moment, Steve became more than just the host of a game show. He became a champion for dignity and understanding. The applause was not just for his words, but for the stance he had taken, a reminder that even in a light-hearted setting, important conversations about race and respect must be had. This incident marked a turning point, not only for the show, but for the viewers at home, prompting them to reflect on the boundaries of humor and the importance of maintaining respect in all interactions. But this wasn't just a moment of reprimand. It was the beginning of a deeper conversation about race and humor that would resonate far beyond the studio walls. As the episode continued, the tension lingered in the air, setting the stage for a discussion that would challenge perceptions and inspire change, ensuring that the laughter shared on stage would be rooted in respect and understanding. As the applause faded into the background, the atmosphere in the studio shifted dramatically. The energy that had once filled the air with excitement was now replaced with an unsettling tension. Steve's words, resonant and firm, echoed in the minds of the audience and viewers at home. What would the contestant do next? Would they take the opportunity to sincerely apologize for their misguided joke? Or would they attempt to double down on their bravado? The stakes were high, and the tension in the studio was palpable, creating a charged environment where every gaze was fixed on the contestant. The contestant's smile faltered almost imperceptibly, uncertainty flooding their expression like a cold wave. They had entered the studio with dreams of entertaining and charming the audience, but now they faced the very real consequences of their words. The laughter that had erupted moments before felt distant and uncomfortable, replaced by a heavy silence that hung in the air. It was as if time had stopped, and they could sense the shift in the audience's mood, a collective intake of breath as they awaited the contestant's response. This moment was no longer about winning or losing. It was a reckoning that compelled everyone involved to confront the reality of the situation. In that heartbeat, the contestant's mind raced. They could feel the eyes of the audience piercing through them, dissecting every fleeting emotion that crossed their face. What was I thinking? They wondered, grappling with the gravity of their mistake. The reality of the situation set in. They had unintentionally crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. Every second felt like an eternity as they weighed their options, the pressure mounting around them. The laughter that had once been a source of confidence now felt like a haunting reminder of their folly. In a moment of desperation, the contestant attempted to laugh it off, saying, "I was just joking." The words tumbled out, unconvincing and desperate, as if trying to mask the panic that bubbled just beneath the surface. But Steve wasn't having it. With a steely gaze, he replied firmly, "This isn't a joke, and we're not laughing." His tone was unwavering, reinforcing the message that racial jokes have no place in comedy. The audience erupted with approval, their claps echoing like a clarion call for respect and understanding, a unified front against ignorance. The contestants' hearts sank at Steve's response. They had hoped for a moment of redemption, to turn the situation around with humor, but instead, they felt the weight of their error magnified. They could see the disappointment etched on the faces of the audience members and the crew. What had started as a light-hearted competition had evolved into a significant moment of social commentary, and they were at the center of it with nowhere to hide. The realization that their words had consequences weighed heavily on their shoulders, and the laughter they had sought to invoke now felt like a distant memory. As the game continued, the atmosphere remained charged. Contestants became more cautious, acutely aware of the impact their words could have. The playful banter characteristic of Family Feud was now tempered with a sense of responsibility. Every answer delivered had a newfound weight, as if everyone had collectively agreed to uphold a standard of dignity. The stakes had been raised, and this pivotal moment in the history of the show would be remembered long after the episode aired. In the days following the taping, the fallout from the incident began to unfold beyond the studio walls. Clips of the episode circulated on social media, snippets of the confrontation shared and dissected by viewers. Hashtags like Family Feud and Respect began trending, igniting an online firestorm of opinions. Some applauded Steve for his decisive stand against racial insensitivity, praising him for using his platform to promote accountability. Others were critical of the contestant, questioning their judgment and intent. The conversation quickly spiraled into a broader discussion about race, humor, and the responsibilities of those in the public eye. The contestant, now a focal point of controversy, faced a barrage of reactions. Supportive voices encouraged them to learn from the experience, while others were harsh, condemning their insensitivity. Every notification on their phone brought a mix of anxiety and dread as they read through the comments. They could feel the weight of public scrutiny, and for the first time, the consequences of their words hit home. This was not just about a joke. It was about understanding the broader implications of humor in a society still grappling with issues of race and representation. As the weekend approached, news outlets seized the story, amplifying the incident and the discussion surrounding it. Articles published online examined the role of humor in entertainment, diving deep into how jokes about race can perpetuate stereotypes and harm marginalized communities. Experts were called to weigh in, discussing the fine line between comedy and insensitivity. The conversation grew, with commentators arguing that this incident was a wake-up call for not just comedians and entertainers, but for society as a whole. In a surprising twist, a few days after the episode aired, a popular comedian took to social media to share their thoughts on the matter. "We need to do better," they tweeted, addressing the incident directly. "Humor is powerful, and we have a responsibility to use it wisely." Their post sparked a movement among their followers, encouraging fellow comedians to reflect on their material and consider the impact of their words. This moment of solidarity became a rallying cry for many, pushing for more respectful representation in media and a deeper understanding of the social implications of their craft. Steve, meanwhile, found himself at the forefront of this unexpected wave of change. He had always been a figure of humor and warmth, but now he was being hailed as a symbol of accountability. Interviews flooded in as journalists sought his perspective on the incident and the subsequent fallout. In every interview, Steve emphasized the importance of respect in comedy, advocating for a culture where laughter does not come at the expense of others. He spoke passionately about the need for dialogue and understanding, recognizing that while humor can unite, it can also divide if not approached with care. His commitment to fostering a respectful environment was evident, and the audience responded with cheers, clearly moved by his dedication to the issue. As the narrative unfolded, the contestant faced the consequences of their actions, realizing that their moment of misguided humor had sparked a firestorm of reactions that challenged the very fabric of how humor is perceived in society. They began to understand that this experience could be an opportunity for growth. With every passing day, the weight of their mistake began to transform into a desire to learn and engage in meaningful conversations about race and comedy. They started reaching out to organizations dedicated to racial equality and representation, seeking guidance on how to better understand the impact of their words. This journey of self-discovery became a pivotal moment in their life, as they transitioned from being a source of controversy to a potential advocate for change. The fallout from that single episode would ripple through the entertainment industry, prompting many to reconsider their approach to humor and the messages they convey. It was a moment that highlighted the responsibility that comes with a platform, a reminder that laughter should uplift rather than tear down. As the world watched, the stage was set for a deeper conversation about race, identity, and accountability, one that would resonate long after the cameras stopped rolling. In the weeks that followed, the incident continued to be a topic of discussion in various forums, from late-night talk shows to podcasts dedicated to cultural commentary. Comedians began to take a more introspective approach in their routines, often referencing the incident as a cautionary tale. "I want to make people laugh, not hurt them," one comedian remarked during a set, drawing applause from the audience. It was clear that the ripple effects of the incident had prompted a reevaluation of the role of humor in society. The contestant, now more aware of the complexities surrounding humor and race, began to use their platform to share their journey. They started a blog where they documented their experiences and insights, aiming to foster a dialogue about the nuances of comedy. They wrote candidly about their initial misunderstanding and the lessons they had learned along the way. "I thought I was being funny, but I didn't consider the impact of my words," they shared in one post, inviting readers to reflect on their own experiences with humor. This transparency resonated with many, prompting discussions that went beyond the incident itself and delving into the broader implications of comedy in today's society. As the conversation evolved, it became clear that the incident had opened a Pandora's box of discussions about race, identity, and responsibility in entertainment. What had started as a moment of tension transformed into a catalyst for meaningful dialogue and growth. The contestants' willingness to engage with their mistake and the industry's response to the fallout created an environment where conversations about race and humor could flourish. It was a new chapter, one that promised to inspire future generations of entertainers to approach their craft with greater sensitivity and awareness. As the dust settled from the incident, the immediate aftermath reverberated far beyond the studio walls. Clips of the episode began circulating on social media almost instantaneously, and the reaction was swift and intense. Viewers took to their phones, sharing their thoughts and feelings in real time. Some applauded Steve's response, praising his commitment to respect and dignity in comedy. "Finally, someone is standing up for what's right," one user tweeted, rallying support for the host. Others, however, found themselves questioning the contestants' intentions, leading to a complex and multifaceted debate that unfolded across various platforms, igniting a frenzy of opinions and discussions. The hashtags Family Feud and Respect exploded across social media, with thousands of tweets and posts flooding in from all corners of the internet. Some applauded Steve for his decisive stand against racial insensitivity, emphasizing the importance of accountability in entertainment. "This is the kind of leadership we need in media," another user commented, sharing clips of the moment with the caption, "A masterclass in respect." On the other hand, many expressed disappointment in the contestant, wondering how someone could have thought it was acceptable to make such a joke in the first place. "It's 2025. How do people not get this yet?" lamented another commenter, echoing a sentiment shared by many who felt the need for greater awareness and sensitivity in humor. However, the broader conversation was not merely about a single joke. It had ignited a powerful discussion about race, representation, and the responsibilities of television personalities. The incident quickly became a focal point for societal dialogue, prompting numerous online forums and discussions. Debates erupted over the nature of comedy itself. Can humor be funny without crossing lines? Where does one draw the boundary between a harmless joke and a harmful stereotype? These discussions were not limited to casual social media posts. They spilled over into mainstream news outlets, where pundits and commentators dissected the implications of the incident, often inviting experts to weigh in on the nuances of humor, race, and cultural sensitivity. As the online discourse expanded, it became clear that the bigger problem was not just the joke itself, but the conversation it ignited about race and representation in media. Many commentators noted that this incident was indicative of a systemic issue within the entertainment industry, where racial insensitivity often goes unchecked. This is not just about one contestant's mistake. It's about a culture that allows these kinds of jokes to thrive. One cultural critic stated during a live stream discussion, sparking further debate among viewers. This sentiment resonated strongly, generating a wave of support for increased accountability in comedy. Steve, meanwhile, found himself thrust into the role of an unexpected leader in this movement. As clips of his response went viral, he became a symbol of accountability and respect in the entertainment world. Interviews poured in from news outlets eager to capitalize on the momentum, asking for his perspective on the incident and its aftermath. In each interview, Steve emphasized the importance of fostering a culture of respect in comedy, advocating for an environment where laughter does not come at the expense of others. "It's crucial that we recognize the power of our words," he told one reporter. "Humor should bring people together, not tear them apart." His words struck a chord with many, further solidifying his position as a thought leader in the industry. However, amidst the applause for Steve's stand, there were whispers of dissent. Some felt that the backlash against the contestant was too severe, arguing that it was merely a joke taken out of context. Critics began to emerge, insisting that the incident was being blown out of proportion, framing the discussion as an overreaction to a harmless quip. "What happened to freedom of speech?" one commentator mused, questioning whether the backlash had gone too far. This divide presented a new challenge for Steve and the production team as they navigated the complex landscape of public opinion. The contestant, now a primary focus of controversy, found themselves grappling with the fallout. Their phone buzzed incessantly with notifications, each message a reminder of the scrutiny they were under. Some messages were supportive, encouraging them to learn from the experience and grow. Others were harsh, condemning their insensitivity and questioning their character. It was a whirlwind of emotions, and the contestants struggled to find their footing amidst the chaos. They felt the weight of public scrutiny pressing down on them, and the realization that their words had consequences weighed heavily on their shoulders. In the days that followed, the contestant began to realize the gravity of their actions. They had unintentionally opened a Pandora's box, and the implications of that moment were far-reaching. With the online backlash intensifying, they decided to take a step back and reflect. "I never meant to hurt anyone," they wrote in a heartfelt post on their social media account. "I thought I was being funny, but I see now how my words can impact others. I am committed to learning and growing from this." This admission resonated with many, and while some continued to criticize them, others expressed appreciation for their willingness to engage in the conversation. As the online discourse continued to evolve, it became apparent that this incident had sparked a movement, one that called for more respectful representation in media. Advocacy groups and influencers began to mobilize, pushing for changes in how race and humor are addressed within the entertainment industry. They organized discussions, panels, and workshops aimed at educating entertainers about the implications of their words and the importance of cultural sensitivity in humor. This grassroots effort gained momentum, fueled by the collective desire for change and accountability. In one particularly impactful event, a well-known comedian held an open forum titled "Laughing with Respect," a discussion that brought together comedians, writers, and cultural critics to explore the nuances of race in comedy. The event attracted a diverse audience, eager to engage in meaningful dialogue about the intersection of humor and social responsibility. Panelists shared personal stories, highlighting the need for comedians to be aware of their power and the potential for harm in their words. The discussions were candid and often emotional, as participants reflected on their experiences and the responsibility they felt to their audiences. As the weeks turned into months, the incident continued to resonate. It had become a rallying cry for many, pushing for change and greater awareness within the industry. The contestant, now on a journey of self-discovery, began to participate in these discussions, sharing their story and the lessons they had learned. They found a community of like-minded individuals who were dedicated to fostering a more inclusive environment in comedy, eager to learn and grow together. Steve, too, embraced this newfound momentum, he began collaborating with organizations focused on racial equality and representation, using his platform to advocate for change. His voice became a beacon for those seeking to challenge the status quo, pushing for conversations that confronted uncomfortable truths. "We need to talk about these issues openly," he stated during a panel discussion. "Only then can we hope to make real progress." His commitment to fostering dialogue around race and humor inspired others in the industry to follow suit, leading to a wave of change that began to ripple through the entertainment world. As the online reaction continued to unfold, the initial incident morphed into a broader conversation about race, identity, and accountability in entertainment. It was clear that the incident had sparked a firestorm of reactions, challenging the very fabric of how humor is perceived and delivered. The dialogue had expanded beyond the confines of social media and television, penetrating classrooms, workplaces, and homes across the nation. What began as a moment of tension had transformed into a pivotal moment for the industry, one that would influence countless entertainers and audiences alike. The contestant had become an unexpected advocate for change, using their platform to engage in discussions about the importance of understanding the impact of words. They began to receive invitations to speak at schools and community centers, sharing their story and encouraging young people to think critically about humor and its implications. "We all have a responsibility to be mindful of our words," they told audiences, hoping to inspire a new generation to approach humor with sensitivity and respect. Their journey resonated with many, illustrating that growth and redemption are possible when one is willing to confront their mistakes. As the conversation deepened, it became clear that the incident was just the beginning. The fallout had opened many doors for dialogue, and the discussions surrounding race, humor, and representation would continue to evolve. The online world had become a powerful platform for change, and the impact of that single moment would be felt for years to come, shaping the future of entertainment and the responsibilities of those within it. The industry faced a turning point, with many comedians reevaluating their material and the messages they conveyed. Workshops focused on diversity and inclusion became more common, with entertainers seeking to understand the cultural contexts of their jokes. "It's not just about being funny," one aspiring comedian noted during a workshop. "It's about being responsible and understanding who might be affected by our words." This shift in perspective signaled a significant development within the comedy community, illustrating a collective effort to foster a more inclusive environment. As the world continued to engage with the themes raised by the incident, the conversation about race and humor expanded to include voices from various backgrounds. Comedians of color began sharing their experiences in the industry, highlighting the challenges they faced and the importance of representation. The dialogue became richer and more nuanced, emphasizing that humor should reflect the diversity of the audience it seeks to entertain. Through it all, the original incident remained a touchstone for discussions about race and comedy, illustrating the power of words and the responsibility that comes with them. As the contestant, Steve, and countless others navigated this new landscape, they all contributed to a growing awareness of the impact of humor in society and the need for comedians to be both funny and thoughtful. The journey of growth and understanding was ongoing, but it was clear that the path ahead was paved with the lessons learned from that fateful episode. The incident had sparked a movement, one that would continue to challenge entertainers and audiences alike to think critically about the intersection of humor, race, and respect. Days after the episode aired, the atmosphere surrounding the incident remained charged with tension and anticipation. The media buzz had not waned. Instead, it had intensified as discussions about race, humor, and responsibility continued to dominate headlines and social media feeds. the public and industry insiders alike were keenly aware of the repercussions that followed the controversial moment on Family Feud. It was against this backdrop that a follow-up interview was scheduled, bringing together Steve and the contestant for a face-to-face confrontation. Steve had prepared meticulously for this moment, knowing that it would be crucial not just for the contestant, but also for the audience watching at home. He wanted to ensure that the dialogue was constructive, allowing both parties to express their feelings and perspectives honestly. The stakes were higher than ever. The world was watching closely as they anticipated how this confrontation would unfold. Would the contestant confront him about their portrayal, or would they shy away from the discussion? The cameras were rolling, and the tension in the room was palpable. The contestant entered the studio, visibly anxious. They had spent the past few days reflecting on their actions and the subsequent backlash. Their heart raced as they felt the weight of the moment heavy on their shoulders. They had received messages of support and criticism alike. And now, as they faced Steve, the reality of their actions loomed large. How would they address the joke now that the stakes had escalated? The audience held its collective breath, anticipating this pivotal confrontation. As the interview began, the studio felt electric. The lights were bright, and the audience, both live and virtual, was on the edge of their seats. Steve welcomed the contestant with a nod, acknowledging the tension that hung in the air. "Thank you for being here today," Steve began, his tone sincere yet firm. "We need to have an honest conversation about what happened." The contestant nodded, their throat dry as they searched for the right words. "I appreciate this opportunity," they managed to say, their voice steadying as they prepared to confront the consequences of their actions. In a moment charged with emotion, the contestant took a deep breath and began. "I didn't realize how hurtful my words could be," they admitted, their gaze meeting Steve's. "I thought I was being funny, but now I understand that humor can have a much deeper impact." The audience listened intently, sensing the gravity of the moment. Steve nodded, recognizing the importance of this dialogue. "It's not just about comedy, it's about understanding the impact of our words," Steve replied, his voice resonating with authority. "We have a responsibility to our audience, and when we make jokes, we need to think about who might be affected." The audience erupted in applause, witnessing a powerful moment of reconciliation. It was a clear acknowledgement that mistakes could lead to growth, and that vulnerability could pave the way for understanding. As the interview progressed, the atmosphere shifted. The contestant opened up about their journey since the incident, sharing how they had been grappling with the consequences of their actions. "At first, I was defensive," they confessed. "I didn't want to admit that I had crossed a line. But the backlash made me realize that I needed to take a step back and really reflect on what I had done." Their honesty struck a chord with many, as it illustrated the internal struggle faced by those who find themselves in the public eye. Steve listened attentively, nodding in agreement. "We all make mistakes," he said. "But what matters is how we respond to them. It's crucial to learn and grow from these experiences." He emphasized the importance of using one's platform responsibly, encouraging the contestant to embrace their role in the ongoing conversation about race and humor. "You have the opportunity to make a difference," he encouraged, "and to help others understand the impact of their words as well." The contestant felt a surge of gratitude for Steve's guidance, realizing that this confrontation was not just about addressing the past, but also about forging a path forward. "I want to use my experience to educate others," they said earnestly. "I don't want anyone else to go through what I did." Humor can be a powerful tool for connection, but it must be wielded with care. The audience applauded again, resonating with the contestants' newfound purpose. As the conversation deepened, it became clear that both Steve and the contestant were committed to fostering a dialogue about race, identity, and responsibility in entertainment. They discussed the challenges faced by comedians, particularly those from marginalized backgrounds, and how the industry could better support them. "We need to create spaces where diverse voices can thrive," Steve asserted. "Humor should reflect the richness of our society, not reinforce outdated stereotypes." The dialogue was not just a one-time event. It marked the beginning of a collaborative effort to address the complexities of race in comedy. In the days that followed, both Steve and the contestant began to engage with organizations focused on racial equality and cultural sensitivity in entertainment. They attended workshops, participated in panels, and even collaborated on a public service announcement aimed at educating audiences about the importance of respectful humor. This collaborative spirit fostered a sense of community and purpose, prompting others in the industry to join the cause. As the weeks turned into months, the incident began to transform from a point of contention into a catalyst for change. The contestant, now more aware of their platform, started using their voice to advocate for more inclusive practices in the industry. They shared their story at schools and community centers, urging young people to think critically about humor and its implications. "We all have a responsibility to be mindful of our words," they emphasized, hoping to inspire a new generation to approach humor with sensitivity and respect. Their journey resonated with many, illustrating that growth and redemption are possible when one is willing to confront their mistakes. Meanwhile, Steve continued to champion the cause of accountability in entertainment. He used his influence to foster discussions about the responsibilities that come with a public platform, stressing the importance of understanding the potential impact of one's words. "We must create an environment where everyone feels respected and valued," he stated during a panel discussion, emphasizing the need for comedians to embrace their role as cultural commentators. The confrontation that had initially seemed daunting had evolved into a powerful opportunity for growth and understanding. Both Steve and the contestant emerged from the dialogue transformed, committed to fostering a culture of respect in comedy. They realized that their experiences, though fraught with challenges, could serve as a foundation for meaningful change in the industry. As the conversation continued to unfold, it became clear that the incident was just the beginning of a much larger movement. The lessons learned from the confrontation resonated throughout the entertainment world, prompting many to reevaluate their approach to humor and the messages they conveyed. Comedians began to engage in deeper conversations about their material, recognizing their role in shaping societal perceptions. The aftermath of the confrontation had opened a Pandora's box of discussions about race, identity, and responsibility in entertainment. It was a moment that highlighted the power of dialogue and the potential for growth that lies within vulnerability. As Steve and the contestant navigated this new landscape, they emerged not just as individuals, but as representatives of a movement dedicated to fostering understanding and respect in comedy. The journey of accountability and growth was ongoing, but it was clear that the path ahead was paved with the lessons learned from that fateful episode. The incident had sparked a movement, one that would continue to challenge entertainers and audiences alike to think critically about the intersection of humor, race, and respect. In the weeks that followed, various media outlets began to cover the story of Steve and the contestant more extensively. Documentaries and articles explored the themes of accountability and redemption, showcasing their journey and the broader implications for the entertainment industry. Audiences found themselves captivated not only by the story of the incident itself, but by the transformative journey that both Steve and the contestant had undertaken. Their willingness to engage in difficult conversations became a source of inspiration for many, encouraging others to reflect on their own behavior and the impact of their words. Moreover, as the dialogue around race and responsibility in comedy grew, it began to influence other areas of entertainment, including television, film, and theater. Writers and producers started to take notice, recognizing the need for more diverse voices in the industry. "We can't just have a few token characters," one producer stated in an interview. "We need authentic representation that reflects the world we live in." This shift in perspective marked a turning point for many creators, prompting them to seek out stories that resonated with a broader audience and to question the narratives they had previously accepted as the norm. As the movement gained traction, it became clear that the confrontation between Steve and the contestant was not just a pivotal moment for their individual growth, but a catalyst for systemic change within the entertainment industry. The lessons learned from their dialogue reverberated beyond the studio walls, prompting a reevaluation of how humor is crafted and delivered, and who gets to tell those stories. Through it all, Steve and the contestant remained committed to their mission of fostering a culture of understanding and respect in comedy. They continued to collaborate on initiatives aimed at educating entertainers and audiences alike, ensuring that the conversations they had started would continue to evolve and grow. The journey of self-discovery and advocacy was not without its challenges. Both Steve and the contestant faced criticism and pushback from those who felt that the conversation had gone too far. "Some people just don't understand the importance of this dialogue," Steve would often say, reflecting on the resistance they encountered. But they remained undeterred, believing that progress was possible through continued engagement and education. As time went on, their efforts began to bear fruit. The entertainment industry started to see a shift toward more inclusive practices, with a growing emphasis on cultural sensitivity and accountability. Comedians began to speak out about their own experiences, sharing stories of how they had navigated the complexities of race and humor in their careers. "It's about time we had these conversations," one comedian remarked during a live performance, earning applause from an audience eager for change. The impact of the confrontation between Steve and the contestant extended far beyond the realm of comedy. It sparked a broader societal conversation about the responsibilities of public figures and the power of words. As audiences became more aware of the implications of humor, they began to demand better from their entertainers, seeking authenticity and respect in the narratives being presented to them. In retrospect, the confrontation served as a pivotal moment in the journey toward greater understanding and accountability in the entertainment industry. The lessons learned from that day about the power of words, the importance of empathy, and the necessity of respectful dialogue would continue to resonate, shaping the future of comedy and beyond. As time passed, the incident on Family Feud evolved into a pivotal moment in the history of the show and the broader landscape of comedy. It wasn't merely a blip on the radar. It transformed into a legacy of accountability and introspection. Steve Harvey, renowned for his charismatic hosting style and quick wit, had set a precedent for how racial jokes would be addressed in the future. His willingness to confront the uncomfortable truth surrounding race and humor resonated deeply with audiences and entertainers alike, marking a significant shift in how the industry approached sensitive topics. In the weeks following the incident, the media landscape buzzed with discussions about racial humor and its implications. Various talk shows, podcasts, and online platforms dissected the moment, analyzing Steve's response and the broader societal context in which it occurred. Commentators praised his ability to navigate the complex terrain of race and comedy with grace and honesty. "It's not just about making people laugh," one cultural critic stated during a live broadcast, their voice laden with conviction. It's about understanding the impact of our words and the responsibility that comes with humor. These discussions prompted a wave of self-reflection among comedians and public figures, many of whom began to reconsider their own approaches to race in their work. However, with this newfound attention came scrutiny. The question loomed large. Would other public figures follow Steve's lead, or would they shy away from tackling difficult conversations? The stakes were higher than ever. The world was watching closely. As the media spotlight shone brightly, some entertainers expressed concern about the backlash that could result from addressing such sensitive topics. "If I say the wrong thing, I could lose everything," one comedian confided during an interview, echoing the fears that many felt in the wake of the incident. This reluctance to engage in open dialogue reflected a broader tension within the entertainment industry, a tension between the desire to be funny and the need to be responsible. Yet, amidst this climate of uncertainty, what Steve didn't know was that this incident would influence a new generation of comedians and entertainers, shaping how they approached race in their work. Aspiring comics began to emerge, inspired by Steve's example and eager to engage in thoughtful conversations about race and humor. They recognized that while humor could be a powerful tool for connection, it also carried the potential for harm if not wielded carefully. In comedy clubs across the country, the atmosphere began to shift dramatically. Open mic nights transformed into safe spaces for dialogue, where performers felt empowered to discuss their experiences with race, identity, and the complexities of humor. One rising star, a young comedian named Maya, took to the stage with a sense of purpose that was palpable. "I want to talk about what it's like being a woman of color in this industry," she began, her voice steady yet passionate. The audience leaned in, captivated by her authenticity and courage. "I know that laughter can bring us together, but it can also push us apart if we're not careful." Her willingness to confront the intricacies of race and humor resonated with many, sparking conversations that extended far beyond the walls of the comedy club. Maya's introspection about her identity and the weight of her experiences resonated deeply with her peers. She often drew from her own life, crafting routines that highlighted the absurdities of navigating a world that often viewed her through the lens of stereotypes. "I want to create comedy that reflects the world we live in," she shared during an interview, her determination evident in her eyes. That means addressing the tough issues head-on and being willing to listen to different perspectives. Her commitment to inclusivity and accountability inspired many of her contemporaries, encouraging them to explore their own identities and the narratives that shaped their lives. Comedians like Maya began to embrace their roles as cultural commentators, using their platforms to challenge stereotypes and engage in meaningful dialogue. They recognized that humor could serve as a bridge between different communities, fostering understanding and empathy. "I want my comedy to spark conversations," she said during a panel discussion, her passion infectious. "Laughter is a powerful tool, and when used wisely, it can bring people together in ways we never imagined." This approach resonated with many in the industry, leading to a renewed focus on creating comedy that was not only entertaining, but also thought-provoking and impactful. Steve's commitment to addressing racial issues in humor inspired a wave of change throughout the comedy landscape. The incident, once just a moment of tension, transformed into a catalyst for meaningful dialogue and growth. Comedians began to engage in deeper conversations about their material, recognizing their role in shaping societal perceptions. They started to analyze their routines through a critical lens, asking themselves whether their jokes reinforced harmful stereotypes or offered fresh perspectives. "I realized that I have a responsibility to my audience," one veteran comic admitted during a candid interview. "My words can either uplift or harm, and I want to make sure I'm doing the former. This introspection led to a renaissance in comedy, where performers sought to create work that was not only funny, but also thoughtful and impactful. Amidst this cultural shift, industry leaders began to take notice. Comedy festivals and events began to prioritize diversity and inclusion, seeking out performers who could bring unique perspectives to the stage. Producers and executives, recognizing the demand for more authentic representation, started to greenlight projects that explored the complexities of race and identity in nuanced ways. In boardrooms across Hollywood, conversations shifted as decision-makers acknowledged the need for change. "We can't ignore the voices that have been marginalized for too long," one producer stated during a meeting, his tone resolute. "It's time to elevate those stories and give them the platform they deserve." This newfound commitment to diversity led to a surge of projects that celebrated underrepresented voices, enriching the cultural fabric of entertainment. As the momentum grew, organizations dedicated to promoting diversity in entertainment began to emerge. They offered resources and support for underrepresented artists, helping them navigate the industry landscape. Workshops and mentorship programs flourished, providing aspiring entertainers with the tools and guidance needed to succeed. "We're committed to creating pathways for diverse voices in comedy," a representative from one such organization stated with enthusiasm. "We want to ensure that the next generation of comedians feels empowered to share their stories." This commitment to fostering inclusivity helped to cultivate a new wave of talent, each eager to contribute to the evolving narrative of comedy. However, the journey was not without its challenges. As the conversation around race and humor intensified, backlash from certain segments of the audience became more pronounced. Some critics accused comedians of being overly sensitive or politically correct, arguing that the essence of comedy was being lost in the pursuit of inclusivity. "Comedy is supposed to push boundaries," one outspoken critic argued on a popular podcast, their voice rising with passion. "If we can't joke about everything, then what's the point?" This sentiment resonated with a portion of the audience that felt uncomfortable with the changing landscape, leading to heated debates about the role of humor in society. In response, comedians like Maya and Steve remained steadfast in their commitment to thoughtful humor. They recognized that while pushing boundaries was an essential part of comedy, it had to be done with care and consideration for those who might be impacted. "It's not about silencing voices," Maya explained during a panel discussion, her expression earnest. "It's about elevating our conversations and being mindful of the experiences we're drawing from." This approach resonated with many in the industry, leading to a renewed focus on creating comedy that could entertain while also fostering understanding. The legacy of the incident on Family Feud continued to unfold as more entertainers joined the conversation. Social media platforms became hotbeds for discussions about race and humor, with comedians sharing their thoughts, experiences, and insights. Hashtags like "Comedy with Care" and "Nashkanim" respectful humor emerged, encouraging audiences to engage in dialogue about the implications of their laughter. Comedians began to use these platforms to express their commitment to accountability, sharing their own journeys of growth and self-reflection. "I'm learning every day," one comedian posted on Instagram, sharing a heartfelt message about the importance of understanding the impact of one's words. This openness resonated with followers, encouraging a culture of empathy and growth. As the discussions evolved, it became clear that the ripple effect of the incident was not just a fleeting moment. It had the potential to lead to lasting change across various sectors of entertainment. Organizations dedicated to promoting diversity and inclusion in entertainment began to rise, advocating for equitable representation and cultural sensitivity in the industry. They sought to create spaces where marginalized voices could be heard, fostering a culture of understanding and respect. Events and panels were organized to explore the intersection of culture and comedy, drawing participants eager to engage in meaningful conversations that bridged divides and encouraged collaboration. In academic circles, scholars and researchers began studying the incident and its implications for comedy, race, and media. Conferences were organized to explore the intersections of humor and social justice, bringing together experts from various fields to share insights and strategies for fostering a more inclusive entertainment landscape. We must understand the power of humor in shaping societal norms, a researcher noted during a presentation, emphasizing the need for continued dialogue and education. The academic community embraced the opportunity to study the phenomenon, offering frameworks and theories that could help inform future comedy and media practices. Through it all, the journey of Steve and the contestant became a case study in how a single moment could catalyze a broader movement. Their willingness to confront the incident head-on and engage in meaningful dialogue had sparked a nationwide conversation, one that would continue to resonate for years to come. They became advocates for change, using their experiences to inspire others to think critically about the power of words and the importance of empathy in comedy. As they attended various events and discussions, Steve often reflected on the importance of this legacy. "We must keep pushing for change," he would remind audiences, reinforcing the idea that the work was far from over. This is just the beginning. The commitment to fostering a culture of respect and understanding in humor was a shared mission, one that would continue to evolve as new voices and perspectives emerged in the conversation. As the ripple effects of the incident continued to spread, it became clear that laughter could be a powerful force for good, capable of bridging divides and fostering connections. The evolution of comedy in the wake of the incident showcased the potential for humor to unite, educate, and inspire change. The journey was ongoing, and the conversation sparked by that initial moment would shape the future of comedy and society as a whole. In the months that followed, various media outlets began to cover the story of Steve and the contestant more extensively, exploring the broader implications of their experiences. Documentaries and articles examined the themes of accountability and redemption, showcasing their journey and the lessons learned. Audiences found themselves captivated not only by the incident itself, but by the transformative journey both Steve and the contestant had undertaken. Their willingness to engage in difficult conversations became a source of inspiration for many, encouraging others to reflect on their own behavior and the impact of their words. Moreover, as the dialogue around race and responsibility in comedy grew, it began to influence other areas of entertainment, including television, film, and theater. Writers and producers started to take notice, recognizing the need for more diverse voices in the industry. "We can't just have a few token characters," one producer stated in an interview. "We need authentic representation that reflects the world we live in." This shift in perspective marked a turning point for many creators, prompting them to seek out stories that resonated with a broader audience and to question the narratives they had previously accepted as the norm. As the legacy of the incident continued to inspire conversations and creative expressions, Steve and Maya found themselves at the forefront of this movement. They were invited to speak at conferences, universities, and community events, where they shared their experiences and insights with audiences eager to engage in the ongoing dialogue. "We have the power to shape the future of comedy," Steve proclaimed during a keynote address, his voice ringing with conviction. "Let's ensure that our laughter brings us together rather than tearing us apart." His words resonated with many, reinforcing the idea that humor could serve as a vehicle for connection and understanding. The journey of accountability and growth was ongoing, but it was clear that the path ahead was paved with the lessons learned from that fateful episode. The legacy of Steve's commitment to addressing racial issues in humor inspired a new generation of entertainers, encouraging them to approach their work with authenticity and awareness. Comedians began to engage in deeper conversations about their material, recognizing their role in shaping societal perceptions. They understood that their voices mattered, and that they had the power to influence change through their art. In the years that followed, the legacy of the incident on Family Feud continued to shape the comedy landscape. The conversations ignited by that moment evolved into a broader movement for accountability and inclusivity in entertainment. Comedians, writers, and artists embraced their roles as cultural commentators, using their platforms to challenge stereotypes and foster understanding. The ripple effects of that pivotal moment were felt far and wide, as the industry transformed in response to the demand for more authentic representation and thoughtful humor. As Steve reflected on the journey, he understood that the legacy of the incident was not just about him or the contestant. It was about the collective growth of an entire industry. "We're all in this together," he often reminded audiences. "Let's continue to learn from one another and push for a future where laughter can unite us in our shared humanity." His words encapsulated the spirit of the movement, emphasizing the importance of empathy, understanding, and accountability in the world of comedy. Ultimately, the legacy of that moment on Family Feud would become a testament to the power of dialogue, growth, and the relentless pursuit of understanding. It served as a reminder that while humor could be a source of joy, it also carried the weight of responsibility. As comedians and entertainers continued to navigate the complexities of race and humor, they did so with the knowledge that their words could shape perceptions and foster connections. The legacy of accountability would endure, guiding the industry toward a future where laughter could truly be a force for good. As the years rolled on, the impact of that single incident became a cornerstone of discussions surrounding race and comedy, not just in the United States, but globally. Festivals dedicated to comedy now included panels focused on the implications of humor in a multicultural world. Performers from various backgrounds shared their stories, offering insights into how their identities influenced their comedic voices. "Every joke I tell is a reflection of my life," an international comedian shared during a festival, prompting nods of agreement from the audience. Humor is universal, but it's also deeply personal. This sentiment echoed throughout the festival circuit, reinforcing the idea that laughter could bridge cultural divides when approached with sincerity and respect. In classrooms and universities, courses began to emerge that explored the intersections of humor, race, and society. Students engaged in critical discussions about the role of comedy in shaping cultural narratives, analyzing the work of comedians who had pushed boundaries while still being mindful of their impact. "We're learning that humor is not just entertainment," a professor remarked in a lecture. "It's a powerful tool for social commentary and change." This academic exploration further solidified the legacy of the incident, ensuring that future generations would understand the complexities of race and humor. As for Steve and Maya, they continued to advocate for change, using their platform to inspire others and promote understanding. They often collaborated on projects that highlighted diverse voices in comedy, showcasing the importance of representation. "We need to tell our own stories," Maya reiterated during a joint interview with Steve. "Only then can we create a comedy landscape that reflects the richness of our experiences." Their partnership became a model for aspiring entertainers, illustrating the power of collaboration and shared purpose in driving meaningful change. As they looked to the future, both Steve and Maya remained committed to the ongoing dialogue surrounding race and humor. They understood that while progress had been made, the journey was far from over. "We have to keep the conversation alive," Steve often reminded audiences. "It's our responsibility to ensure that laughter continues to bring us together." With each performance, each panel discussion, and each conversation, they sought to honor the legacy of that moment on Family Feud, transforming it into a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come. In the aftermath of the Family Feud incident, a new wave of comedians emerged, eager to redefine humor and challenge societal norms around race. This generation, inspired by the dialogues ignited by Steve Harvey, aimed to create a comedy landscape that reflected diverse realities. Maya quickly became a prominent voice, using her platform to share her experiences as a woman of color in the industry. "I want to share my truth through comedy," she often stated, emphasizing the importance of authenticity. Her success inspired others to step into the spotlight, leading to a vibrant comedy scene filled with diverse narratives. Comedy clubs transformed into spaces for sharing personal stories, fostering community among performers. As the movement gained traction, the industry began to notice. Festivals and networks prioritized diversity, recognizing the growing demand for authentic representation. "Comedy should reflect the richness of our diverse society," a festival organizer declared, paving the way for underrepresented comedians to showcase their talents on larger platforms. Social media further amplified this evolution, allowing comedians to connect with audiences directly. Clips of performances went viral, fostering real-time discussions about their material. "It's a way to build a community," Maya remarked, highlighting the interactive nature of modern comedy. Comedians formed collectives to support one another, creating networks that provided resources and mentorship. The legacy of the incident also entered academia, with universities offering courses on the intersection of comedy and social justice. Students engaged in critical discussions about how humor can challenge societal narratives. "Humor is a powerful tool for social commentary," a professor noted, emphasizing its potential for change. Despite facing challenges from traditionalists resistant to change, Maya and her contemporaries remained committed to their mission. "We can't shy away from tough conversations," she asserted during a conference. This determination led to innovative storytelling that resonated with audiences, blending humor with cultural critique. As the new wave gained visibility, major publications featured rising comedians, celebrating their contributions to a more inclusive comedy landscape. "This generation is redefining what it means to be funny," one journalist wrote, highlighting the importance of diversity in entertainment. Steve Harvey remained a guiding figure, advocating for accountability in comedy. "Our humor should uplift rather than harm," he often reminded audiences, reinforcing the idea that progress was ongoing. As these comedians embraced their roles as cultural commentators, they saw the impact of their work. Audiences engaged in discussions that extended beyond the stage, reflecting the transformative power of laughter intertwined with meaningful dialogue. The legacy of the Family Feud incident endured, shaping the future of comedy. The new generation was determined to build a landscape that was diverse and reflective of the rich tapestry of human experiences. Together, they forged a path toward a brighter future in comedy, one punchline at a time.